Measurements. U.S. customary unit conversion. Units of conversion. So they explain how many of a unit is found in another unit of measurement. So let's look at some examples. Example 1. A box weighs 72 ounces. Convert 72 ounces to pounds. Well, we know ounces are much smaller than a pound. In fact, there are 16 ounces that are equal to 1 pound. So if you wanted to say you had 16 ounces, that's also to say that you had 1 pound of something. So either could be used. It means the same things, but all we're trying to do is convert ounces to pounds. So we're trying to figure out how many pounds is the same as 72 ounces. So we're going to use this conversion right here. So what we can do is we can put 16 ounces over 1 pound, or we could put 1 pound over 16 ounces. So this is how we kind of use them as conversion factors. So the reason we can do this is because if we put 1 pound over 16 ounces or 16 ounces over 1 pound, it's the same as multiplying the whole thing by 1 because they mean the exact same thing. So let's go ahead and start up our problem. So we have our starting number of 72 ounces. So we're going to put 72 ounces right there. And then we need to figure out if we're going to use this conversion or this conversion. So the trick is we want to let our units tell us what it is. So we're going to actually use this one because what we want to do is we want to cross out our ounces. So in order to do that, we need to put the ounces on the bottom. So we have 16 ounces that go right there. This way, ounces can cross out and we're left with pounds. Then all we need to do is go ahead and work out this conversion because we want to end up in pounds, which is on the top. So we know we did it correct because we ended up on the top. So what we do is we're going to go ahead and multiply the top numbers together, and then we're going to divide it by the bottom number. So let's just get our calculators out. So we're just using our computer calculator. So we have 72 times 1, which is equal to 72. And then we're going to go ahead and divide, this is our divide button, by 16. And we get 4.5. So for our answer, we get 4.5 pounds. So if we had 72 ounces, it's the same as 4.5 pounds. Now let's look at another example. Example 2. A baby weighs 8 pounds. Convert 8 pounds to ounces. Well, we have our conversion factor of 16 ounces is equal to 1 pound. Or we can use 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces as we just went over this conversion. Either conversion factor, but let's see how we do this. So we have 8 pounds. We need to get it into ounces. So we're going from pounds to ounces. So we're going to use one of these conversion factors. So the one we're going to use is the 1 so we can cross out pounds. So we need pounds on the bottom and then we need ounces on the top. So we're going to use this one. So let's go ahead and put 16 ounces. And then on the bottom, 1 pound. Now, our pounds cross out and we're left with ounces. So see how we let our units kind of help dictate how this problem is set up. Then we go ahead and multiply what's on the top, and then we divide what's that number from the top, the product of it, by the bottom. Let's go ahead and do this. So 8 times 16 is equal to 128. And then we're going to divide it by 1. And we only have ounces. So anytime we divide anything by 1, we're just going to get itself. So we get 128 ounces. So 8 pounds is the same as saying 128 ounces. Now let's do another example. Example 3. An NFL football field is 120 yards. Convert 120 yards to feet. Well, we need to go from yards to feet. So the first thing I can also think about is how yards is a much larger unit than feet. So there should be a larger number that we end up with. So it's just kind of one of those things you want to kind of remember. So when you kind of check your answer to make sure it makes sense at the end. Now we know 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. So we have the conversion factors like this. We can put 1 yard on the top, or we can put 3 feet on the top. Now, we go from yards to feet. So we start out with 120 yards. Now we need to use the conversion factor where yards are on the bottom and then the feet end up on the top, so we can cross cancel our yards. So let's go ahead and use this one because the yards are on the bottom. Then we can cross out our units. So we cross out yards and yards. And then we end up with feet, which is perfect. Then we need to go ahead and multiply 120 times 3. And then we're going to go ahead and divide it by the 1. So it'll just end up to be what it is. So let's get our calculators out. We can go ahead and clear this. 120 times 3 is equal to 360. Then we can go ahead and divide it by 1, which will just be 360. But here's our divide button. Divide by 1, and we get 360 feet. And then we're done because we needed feet. Now let's do another example. Example 4. An NFL football field is 120 yards. Convert 120 yards to miles. Well, this is kind of like the last problem, except we're going to go one step further as we're converting yards to miles. So we're going to use the same thing as we did last time. We're going to go from yards to feet because we know how many feet are in a mile. So this is our road map. Sometimes people refer to it like that. So we're going to go from yards to feet, which is what we've done before, and then feet to miles. So what are the different conversion factors we're going to need? Well, from yards to feet, we know 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. Then to go from feet to miles, we know 5,280 feet are in 1 mile. So feet is a much smaller unit than mile. So here we have our different conversion factors. So we are going to go ahead and write 120 yards. And then we need to get rid of yards. So what are we going to do? We're just going to fill in just our units. So this is another method to kind of do this. So then we put feet on the top because we can go from yards to feet. Then we need to get rid of feet because we don't want feet in the end. We want miles. So we go ahead and just put this on the bottom right here. Let's just kind of... And then what do we end up with on the top is miles. Because we know feet and miles go together. So we need to use that conversion factor here. So in order to get rid of all our units, see yards cross out, and then we have feet that cross out. So now we're ending up with miles, which is exactly what we want. So first, then let's go back and just fill in the numbers. Well, how many yards are in a feet? Well, 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. We use that conversion factor here, so we can check it. Then we need feet and miles. Well, we know 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. So now we're done. We've set up our whole problem. And we've already crossed out our units, so all we need to do now is we're going to multiply everything that's on the top together. And then we're going to go ahead and multiply everything that's on the bottom together. And then the final step is we'll take the top number and divide it by the bottom number. Well, 120 times 3 times 1. That's essentially what we're doing. So let's go ahead and pull out our calculators. So 120 times 3 is 360 times 1, so it's 360. Now, let's go ahead and multiply what's on the bottom. 1 times 5,280, and we get 5,280. Then our final step is to take this 360 divided by 5,280, and we get 0.0681, and then it continues on. So let's just go and take it to the third decimal place. So we're going to end at 0.068. So this is 0.068 miles. So that is how long an NFL football field is in miles. So let's do another example. Example 5. There are 7 quarts of milk. Convert 7 quarts to gallons. Well, we need to know the relationship. So for quarts to gallons, because we're going from quarts to gallons, which there are 4 quarts to 1 gallon. And that's kind of easy to kind of remember, is that there are quarts. So if you think about quarters, how many do you need to get like to $1? Well, you need 4 quarters. So 4 quarts to 1 gallon. So let's go ahead and set up our problem. We have 7 quarts, and then we need to get to gallons. So that means we want gallons on the top, and then we need to get rid of quarts. So we're going to put that on the bottom. That way we can get rid of quarts, and then we end up with our gallons. Now we know our relationship. So 4 quarts is equal to 1 gallon. So 1 gallon goes on the top, and then 4 quarts go on the bottom. Then, since we already crossed out our units, we need to multiply what's on the top, and then we'll divide whatever that is by the bottom. So let's go ahead and get our calculator out. 7 times 1, which is equal to 7, divided by 4, and we get 1.75. 1.75 gallons. So if you say you have 7 quarts, well, that's equivalent to 1.75 gallons. So you can think about it. You have 7 quarts of milk. That would be the same as having 2 gallons, but only one of them is full and the other one's only 3/4 full.